9,000 Manuscripts from the Century Illustrated Monthly Magazine, Volume 40. This is recorded to celebrate the 9th anniversary of LibriVox. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. During the past 2 years, from 8,500 to 9,000 manuscripts were annually submitted to the Century magazine for publication. This is an increase over previous years and does not include the hundreds, perhaps thousands, of propositions submitted with regard to articles. As there has been an increase in the number of periodicals published in America of late years, and as the newspapers are publishing more contributions than ever by writers not on the regular staff, it is evident that there has been an increase in literary activity, at least in proportion to the increase in population. Now, out of 9,000 manuscripts a year, the Century can only possibly print 400 or less. It follows that editing a magazine is not unlike walking into a garden of flowers and gathering a single bouquet. In other words, not to accept an article, a story, a poem, is not necessarily to reject it. There may be weeds in the garden. There must be weeds in the garden. But the fact that a particular blossom is not gathered into the monthly bouquet does not prove that the editor regarded the blossom as a weed and therefore passed it by. It would be impossible to sweep all the flowers into a single handful. The rejected, or declined, are naturally prone to jibe at sympathetic or apologetic words from editorial sources, so we present the above simile with considerable diffidence. There is truth in it nevertheless, and it would probably be much easier for editors to make up a number of bouquets from the flowers at their disposal than to gather the single one for which alone they have room. The general impression of a lifelong reader of manuscripts is that the quality does not deteriorate, that, in fact, it improves. Such a reader, moreover, is generally impressed by the wide diffusion of literary ability. There are certainly very many more people who can write a good story, a good descriptive paper, a good essay, a good poem, than there were, say, 20 years ago. An old manuscript reader is inclined, in fact, to be very optimistic. Even Mr. Howell's recent extraordinary praise of current literature may not seem to such a reader as so very far out of the way. But after the old manuscript reader has expressed himself thus optimistically, he is entitled to his buts. He may even permit himself to ask whether the literary artist of our day has not caught somewhat of the hurry, the immediateness of the time, whether indeed the present age is not too present with us, whether there is the slow, determined, sure, artistic work which made the successful careers of the earlier generation of American poets, romancists, and essayists. There surely is such work, but is it as general as it should be? And if not, is this one reason that there are not more literary reputations in the new generation commensurate with those of the old? At least the old manuscript reader may, by reason of his age if nothing else, be pardoned, should he at times look over his spectacles at the young manuscript writer and say, "Young man, young woman, you have talent, you have industry, you have knowledge, you have a fine, large audience eagerly waiting for you. All you need is to respect still more highly your own unusual parts. Ponder over, perfect your work. Be not in too great haste to bring it to the eye of the editor, to the eye of the public. Regard each poem, each story as a step in your literary career. Let it not leave your hand till you have done your very best with it. If you intend it to be a genuine work of art, make it so, if you can. This may seem a slow process, but it may prove the speediest in results, and after you have followed this advice, remember that even an editor is mortal, and like every other mortal, entitled to his proportion of mistakes. It is to be hoped that the word career, incidentally dropped in the foregoing, will not have a tendency toward making ingenuous youths selfish and self-conscious. Given a certain amount of skill and taste, literary art is only another name for literary conscience. Conscientious work is not necessarily artistic work, as many a poor devil has found out too late, but it may be. The heart comes first. A warm heart and a cool head, says Joseph Jefferson. The heart comes first, but heart without art is of no avail. The literary artist need not think sordidly on his or her career, and yet may cherish that decent regard for repute, that love of artistic perfection, which will bring the rewards of conscience and of honorable fame. At least the literary artist should be ashamed to do less well than in him lies. He should not niggle and polish for the love of niggling and polishing, but he should be remorseless in self-correction for the love of truth, and art, and beauty. And also, as already said, he should allow the editor that privilege of humanity, the right to blunder, remembering that the declined writer's revenge is the editor's own too vivid memory of mistakes, the ever-lengthening black list of errors in literary judgment, which every old reader of manuscripts turns to in the secret place of his own mind for melancholy penance and warning. End of 9,000 Manuscripts from the Century Illustrated Monthly Magazine, Volume 40.